Welcome to another week of So You Wanna. Our guest today came from the world of finance and venture capital. He was working abroad in Europe when Donald Trump won the first time around in 2016, and he said, I'm heading home because we've got to stop this. He flipped Roselle Park, New Jersey, and Union County from red to blue. He ran for state senate, he went on to run for Congress, and now he's a sitting Union County commissioner. He's not a professional politician. He's someone who just decided to get involved and play politics. Joe Signorello, welcome to So You Wanna.
I'm excited to be here, guys.
Thanks so much for taking time. So, I've known you for a number of years, kind of was there partially along the way on this flip from red to blue in Roselle Park, but I never actually got the full story of your background of what it was like living in Europe when you watched that election night happen back in 2016. And take us back there. What was going on?
Yeah, so just really like super going back. So I worked for this all sounds so like coastal elitist, but whatever. I worked for a Swiss bank. I have dual citizenship, so I have an Italian passport through my mother, which makes it easier to work abroad. So I worked for Credit Suisse in Zurich for about 4 years.
When they were actually solvent.
When they were still there. The collapse was not my fault. The collapse was not my fault. Maybe it had a little bit to do with it. And then I always had this idea of taking like a life break. So I just took a year off, saved a bunch of money, lived in Berlin, and was like living my best life in Berlin.
Berlin.
It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of hazy memories there, but it was a good time. I recommend
we'll
it.
do that on a future episode of So You Want to Go to Berlin.
That's right, yeah. So I speak, my second language now is I speak fluent German, and I was taking like really intensive German classes to like really like fine tune it. And I went to bed, I'm like, it's whatever. Everybody expects Clinton to win. And I woke up that next morning. Can I curse on this podcast?
Sure.
I'm like, fuck. Like, this is bad. So I had to go in, and there was no other Americans there. It was a lot of like Portuguese and Spanish people, Italians that wanted, and like my class became, let's ask the American what the hell happened. And I remember I got really into running. I was the thinnest I'd ever been, which I miss those days when I had the time to run and take care of myself properly. I was just having a run, and I was listening to Dune on audio, the third book.
What motivational running?
It's really, it's good. I was doing like I'd never done this, but I was doing like an hour and a half runs. So like it's keeps your attention. And I'll never forget it. Like I just was like exhausted on this last leg of it, and I was like, screw it, I'm going back. I just like. I've always kind of been interested in politics, and I figured I would do it later in life. There is no avoiding American media in Europe, right? Like, not to sound like some egomaniac, but it's just so driven by that, at least 50% of it. So it's not like you could stick your head in the ground and like say like whatever's going on. So yeah, I decided my lease was running out. I just let the lease go. I wanted to run for Congress then, and my buddy was like, don't do that, run for something local. And funny enough, that year they were recruiting my dad to run for mayor because my family's been in town since 1904. Everybody knows the Signorellos, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, no, A, I'm not a Democrat, and at that time he wasn't. And B, I don't want to run, but my son does, and he's Joe Signorello as well. And yeah, that's how I ended up running for mayor, so...
What made you decide that local politics was your problem to solve? Was it the calling back to your hometown, or was it just, this is a way to at least stop some of the incoming insanity?
Yeah, for me, it was twofold. One is like I'm just a fixer in general. I like fixing problems.
What was the line from was it the New York Times?
I burn with passion for efficiency. That's the lamest quote I've ever had. But it was Insider NJ or something like that. But anyway, so I mean the town was just in dire straits, right? And I just saw a bunch of dum-dums had run it before, and I said I know I could do a better job. And I care about I love my hometown, but I more just care about I think there's so much potential in the northern New Jersey region, right? Like if you add it all up, we're like the third biggest city in America, right? Like we should be manage as one region better. So doing my little part to like make that region better, after the blight and after the Great Recession, which we never really recovered from, it felt good and cleansing, right? But also just like I know I wasn't changing the narrative or beating up Trump, but like I still feel this way, and this is why like I know he's divisive, but I feel a sense of like when I see Gavin Newsom, I like him because he just wants to like string up all the Republicans and make an example out of them. Like that's how I feel. Like anybody who legitimized Trump, in my mind, does not deserve to be in power anymore from like top to bottom. So yeah, it felt good wiping out Republicans. It did.
Yeah. So I probably should have started with this, but how would you describe Roselle Park? The
Yeah.
demographics and kind of the town and everything.
Yeah, it's middle class town. It used to be very blue collar. The whole area, like Union County, was very industrial. Obviously, that industry moved away. At some point, people realized we have a train station that goes to New York, so we sort of
One seat ride?
not yet. Chris Christie is another one who can, that guy. So at some point, people realized it's a good commuter town. It's always been very diverse, right? Like I remember growing up, New Jersey's diverse, but we are particularly diverse. So it's really led that. It's actually funny, I think, A, because of just like economics, and B, just because of the footprint of the people. During COVID, it was like a lot of rich Manhattanites moved to like Westfield, and it was like the Brooklyn and Queens people moved to Roselle Park, you could see. But yeah, I would say it's a middle class, former blue collar town that has become more of a transit village kind of thing.
Yeah.
At that point in time, was it a red town? Was it a blue town? It's forgive my ignorance. This is like your clueless co-host Frank back in action. Forgetting to read the pre-reads, but
No, it's cool. I mean, it's good. It's good content, right? Because nobody knows Roselle Park. So Union County is historically very blue, and it was this little red blip in the middle of Union County. So growing up, every mayor I knew was Republican. Actually, funny enough, there was another Joe who was mayor for 16 years who was also elected very young. I don't know if I mentioned I got elected when I was 30. So yeah, it was always this weird thing. It has a lot to do, I think, with like for those who don't know, New Jersey Italian Americans, especially males, are like the highest propensity Republican, like more than anything demographic wise. I buck the trend somehow. So I think there's a lot of it. There's a large Italian American community that historically is in Roselle Park. So
did you consider that in terms of, when you were going to run? I feel like some politicians kind of adapt their positions to where they're running in, whether it be a state, a municipality, or anything like that.
Yep.
So, just to get elected for that matter, like just to like give the people like what they want to hear, like, responding to, what's popular versus necessarily like, holding deep set convictions about like, the best way to, run the town or like the direction the town should go in. So was that ever on your mind, like to kind of soften your democratic viewpoints for Red Town, or just, go and try to convince people that actually the democratic ways were better?
yeah, really good question, and it's hard, right? And it's hard for a lot of Democrats to accept because we love to eat our own and do this holier than thou stuff. The short answer is yes. It wasn't as hard for me, A, because I grew up there and I kind of knew the flavor.
Mhm.
B, it was also just like I think one thing that I'm good at, and a lot of politicians are good at it, code switching, right? So being able to talk in a boardroom environment, but also being able to talk at the dive bar, right? So just kind of knowing your audience. But the other thing is also like I don't think, and this is the benefit of local politics, is unless you need to get wrapped up in a national issue, right? Like this is like the streets suck, like it doesn't
Yeah.
like, trans rights in sports doesn't matter if there's a pothole, right? And it's not that I don't care about those issues. I obviously do, but you, especially at a local level, it's a blessing that you can lead with the coffee table or kitchen table issues. So, and I think the one just thing I want to add on that is I think that's really important as well, I don't know what the listenership's going to be, but for me as a Democrat, I think one thing that we take away is, and I'm not going to name names, but we see a big win somewhere and we're like, this guy's the next thing. And it's like, dude, Roselle Park is 40 minutes from Manhattan, and it is like kind of conservative, and even the Dems are like kind of conservative. Like, I'm telling you, the New York politics can't even get exported to Roselle Park, which is 45 minutes away.
Mhm.
Like, you think that's going to fly in Iowa? So, like, I think we need to know, me as a Democrat, needs to know what messaging is appropriate. Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely want to talk a little bit more about the progressivism versus the more moderating progressivism.
Yeah.
But before we jump there,
Sure. Yeah.
because we got to stick chronologically here.
Yeah.
So famously, I was not part of your first election.
I didn't know who you
Just
were.
gonna call it out. Yeah, you didn't know who I was at the time. So I know nothing about what that looked like.
Yeah.
And I am very interested to know how you did it before me because
It was
woof.
it was a shit show, man. We had a party chair who did things the old school way, pen and paper, got the voter rolls, went and knocked on doors. I mean, the basics are the basics, right? Like,
At the local level, especially.
100%. And there's nothing. It's funny enough, Democrats love to talk about knocking on doors. At this point, I wonder how much it actually works.
It still works. We're like not going down
Okay,
that
fine.
road where we're making
But-
like random state.
But one thing I will say with authority is when the candidate knocks on doors, that is the
Yes.
most bang for the buck that you can do.
Yep.
So he was really good about that. I was really good about that. I love knocking on doors. And the only thing that we were missing, there was a lack of modernization, right? We didn't spend any money on social. We didn't do any like phone calling, but we did do like the old school, like chase, vote by mails, get out the vote, old phone banking, right? So, it was a machine that was functional. It was a machine from 1996, right? But it was still
when
working.
I was born.
Right, yeah, good timing. But yeah, it was just a lot more old school, right? Just a lot of pen and paper.
I feel like the way even this primary election that you had, like it's still very similar to that for you on the ground in particular. Like it really hasn't changed no
Yeah.
matter, like we've gone through a pandemic, we've come out of that, we've seen all these startup companies in California and in Washington with like, oh, these great ideas, but it still comes down to at the local level that really knocking on the doors.
Yeah, and I think like honestly, a lot of it comes to luck and timing too, right? And a lot of it is just like, there's even in local politics, there's paid media and earned media, right? Like, I mean, the thing I always kind of tell people, which they forget, is like, yeah, money in politics is important and needs to get solved, but like Clinton outspent Trump by like $400 million, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so it's not the end all be all. Being at eye level with the voters where they want to be and being present where they're at is probably more important than anything.
Yeah. So I know once you became mayor, then we flipped to the council and I was involved in that
Yes,
election.
yes.
So I feel like those were still pretty similar.
Yep.
That experience.
Yep. Yeah.
Locally.
Yeah, I mean, we started to modernize things, and I think just so you guys know, is Roselle Park's weird because we're a square mile town that's very dense. So there's 15,000 people in a square mile,
Yeah.
which the only denser town is like Hoboken, which is like 40,000 people, and it's the city. New Jersey's weird for those of you guys who are not in New Jersey, right?
I think West New York is actually the most dense.
Is it okay?
Yeah, like,
we're
it's
in the
even a
top
step
5.
further. Yeah. It's
We are
crazy.
We are in the top 5 though. But we're still broken out into wards, which is like 5 pieces of the puzzle. So the weird thing is I always knew that organizing we could win because we had more Dems on paper. Dems just suck at coming out and voting. We just needed to mobilize them. But when you have the town split up 5 different ways, there are wonky, no matter how evenly they try to split it out, the Republicans come out more here, the Democrats come out more here. So that actually, funnily enough, ended up being, we needed to modernize because those end up being harder than the townwide races.
Yeah.
Because townwide, okay, we know we're going to get a ton of Dem votes in 3 different places and we're going to lose in 2 different places. But net, you win. In those little onesie twosie things, that's where the knocking on doors and the like local messaging is really important.
You have a gerrymandered town of what, under 6,000?
No, it's 15,000. Is come on,
Okay.
don't.
I'm not giving you enough credit.
We go over the
Maybe-
10K mark. Come on, man. Yeah.
Are you the smallest town that is wards in New Jersey? Do you know?
I know that we're the only. There's only 2 towns that still have it. Sorry. Our form of government only had 2. It was Roselle and Roselle Park. We got grandfathered in. The mayor council form. There's no wards anymore for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know, Faulkner Act something. But Roselle and Roselle Park just never got rid of the wards for whatever reason.
Yeah. I never really thought about that. The fact that you're the smallest town that I've ever worked with that has those wards.
The reason you do wards is so you feel like each area can have proper
The
representation.
reason you do wards is so that you can gerrymander. Come on. And
in theory, the politically correct answer is
this is 2026.
we're Democrats.
Like,
we don't gerrymander. We don't do that.
We do gerrymander, and we need to start doing a better job of it because
Now you're singing my tune. All right, next topic.
So let's go back to that whole idea. I think I brought up before. You were running these local campaigns, then you decided to run for state senate.
Yep.
What was the jump there and kind of the difference you saw between running at the local level versus now you're running in a district with, over a dozen towns? I can't remember how many exactly in 21 at the time, but
the jump was money. This is the big first thing, right? Like, it sucks, and I don't know the answer to this, but Jason knows this intimately, right? Like, it's so disappointing when you learn how money is a proxy for how serious you are as a candidate. Because like you grow up thinking like, I don't care if you don't want to be in politics, you should have the ability to do it. And the lack of access is really disappointing to me. And what's really funny is like people decry like machine politics and whatever else. I would actually argue machines do a better job of like picking people up through the ranks, like blue collar people, and lifting them up with actual resources versus what we have now is just like, it's so performative. It's anybody who has the best resume, and by best resume, I mean like they tick a box of what a congressperson should look like or state senator should look like, and they can fundraise. So like we've equated your ability to be a good white collar worker, and I'm talking about Democrats now specifically, to being a good representative. And then we wonder why we lost the working class as Democrats, like, duh.
So I think you're touching on something that we probably have to explain a little bit, which is in New Jersey, the county line and the machine and like what that all means and how that's changed.
Yeah. So real quick, going back to the step up, mostly about money. It's still, especially when you come to state races, it's on an off year, right? So the messaging is really important. The turnout's not super high. Local messaging is important. Like flooding was a big issue that year. And you cover more turf. But I think things, and we'll talk about it either another day or today. It really changes when it's state to Congress, right, to federal. But at the state level, municipal to state, like it's the same problems, just scaling up, right? So money was the big thing.
I like the state legislative races. I've done obviously a ton of them.
Yeah.
Because the people who you have to convince to care, be it the party, the unions, the interest groups, they're all local.
Yep.
So you actually know those people and it's like a smaller circle. Whereas, like you said, when you go to that federal, it's like good luck even getting an email back from an interest group that should care.
Yeah. Like you spend, like, not to touch the third rail, but you spend a month worrying about your APAC meeting. And it's like, what does this have to do with NJ7?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even commentary on APAC. It's just literally like, this is nothing that my electorate's talking about. But these are the groups that, if I'm going to be real, I need to talk to.
Yeah. But at the state level, at least legislatively, at least you have those local organizations that, okay, maybe they take a little bit too long to get involved, but welcome to the Democratic politics where it's too little too late, but at least they're there. You're having the conversations with the interest groups and whatnot.
Yep.
Which is something that I think, especially in Union County, I think you've experienced that where they're definitely helpful and supportive and that institutional support matters.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I really like about state, and if I was ever to wave a magic wand and do anything, being governor would be really cool. Because like state level, you could just do stuff faster, right? It's easier to steer the ship. Like, again, I'm a Democrat, but like there's a reason why you try to chunk up 300 million people into a bunch of different things because it's easier to manage, right? Yeah. But the other thing I want to say is I wish the turnout was higher for these like wonky state senate elections. But what is nice is the people who turn out are really like tuned in. So when you go to the door, it's like actually you get to have real discussions and they're people that pay attention and read the mailers and stuff.
So maybe a hot take answer possible from this one.
Yeah.
Our legislative elections are in the odd years.
Yes.
Should we move them to the even years?
So as a Democrat who wants to win everything, yes. Because like Democrat turnout's just better on the even elections, right? Like, I'll just be honest.
You really think that?
100.
In every district?
I mean, so yeah, 100. Well, I mean, the only exception would be
the swing districts that matter. like 2 and 21 and 39,
Not,
38.
no, I mean, in general, I mean, I can say our turnout still, and because like think about it, what are we, NJ 11? Monica MacIver. It's a safe district.
Yeah, yeah.
The turnout's high. But like also like the Land of the Blind, the One-Eyed Man is King. The turnout's so low on the like
Yeah.
next year we have state senate at the top of the ticket, right? Like nobody's paying attention to that. So I think there's a good reason to have it separately, like morally, right? Because people are paying attention and it's good, and a focused electorate kind of has time to focus on that. As a Democrat who just wants every Republican to lose, like, no, we should do it on the on years and eliminate all Republicans. So put that on record. Kick them all out.
I mean, okay, I have a like logistical question, just mainly because I'm sitting in between two politicos, and it's like genuinely, I don't exactly know the process. So explain to me the difference between when you're running for, a municipal race, like for mayor.
Yep.
You said that your father was being recruited, and you kind of stepped in his place in terms of wanting to run.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like who's doing the recruiting for municipalities versus state senate, how do you get on the ballot with municipalities versus state senate? Like, I genuinely don't know any of this, and I feel like it might be interesting to people because
Sir, at the local level, you get sentenced.
Yeah. Somebody, sentence is a good word. It's funny, Frank, because there was an answer a couple years ago, and then there's an answer now.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So we touched a little bit on machine politics, right? And every party has their own form of this. It's just how strong the party is, right? So municipalities normally have a local Democratic party, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Roselle Park had a local Democratic committee. They selected who they wanted to nominate as their candidate, right? But anybody can run as a Democrat if you're a registered Democrat if you get enough signatures, right? So there's two ways to do it, right? You either say, hey, I'm going to go talk to the local party and get their support, which is the smart way to do it. Or if you can self-fund and do your own thing, like, and this is top to bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are signature requirements. I think it's like 5% of last year's of whatever the gubernatorial.
They changed it, but most towns are now the minimum, which is like 50 or 100, I think.
Yeah, so but like you can check on the state, like mayor has 50 votes or 50 signatures you need. County commissioner has 250, right? So as long as you're registered in that party and you can collect those signatures and those signatures are valid, you will be on the primary, right? And you can run in the primary. So there's kind of the independent way of doing it, and then there's kind of the organizational way, I'll say, versus machine. But I would say to answer your question from a recruiting perspective, it really depends. I mean, I think the smart ones do actually what Roselle Park did and like find people who are influential in the community that are aligned with democratic values. The foolish ones in my mind are the ones who like get together, they complain about the big beautiful bill, which does suck, and then they are activists and they try to translate it to a local level, and it never works out because they go knocking on doors talking about your social security is getting screwed, and people are like, okay, got it, but like the schools are bad. Can we work?
Yeah,
like, there's just a mismatch.
Traffic patterns, potholes, like you said, like that, like
garbage
actually.
pickup.
Yeah. My tree needs to get trimmed. So, does that make sense?
Yeah. One quick follow up question, because again, like just like super like nuts and bolts, like logistical stuff. Like whenever I see sometimes where it's like filed paperwork to run for office, do you literally just like go to a website and download the papers and print them out, get the signatures?
Yes.
Okay, that's what like I genuinely don't know.
The key caveat though is that like you really need to follow the rules because there's nothing more moronic than I think someone was just thrown off the ballot a few weeks ago. So I think it was in Jersey because they had petition circulators who didn't actually live in New Jersey.
Yeah, it was I know who it was. it was Sue. So
there was one after her.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah. So there's two ways you can do it. So the elections are administered at the county level, right? So you can go to the county clerk and physically pick up the paperwork, or you could do it online and print it out in most cases. But yeah, it's really that simple. You need a notary on a lot of these things to certify that you did it. But yeah, it's really funny. So you're both hitting on something important. So when you break it down, it's actually not that hard. But what Jason's hitting on, which is really important, is if you're not part of the organization, or if there are factions that don't want you on the ballot, you need to know what you're doing, because if you need 50 signatures and you come with 52, and I don't want you running against me, I will look at all those 52 signatures.
You're not on the ballot. I can guarantee. If you need 50 and you show up with 52,
100%.
there is an attorney who can find 3 signatures to
that don't
disqualify.
match. Yeah. You moved, or it was a 17-year-old who wasn't registered to vote yet, right? Like, so the general rule of thumb, if you ask one of our friends from like Hudson County, with all due respect, which I appreciate, is like when you think of Jersey politics, like Hudson County is the one. They come with, you need 50 signatures. They come with like, I'm not lying, like 1,000.
I was gonna say they're like quadruple the number.
And it's a flex, right? It's like, okay, I got this many signatures. How many votes am I gonna get? So, but that's also I would say that's like a very New Jersey, New York thing, right? I'm sure maybe Philly. Like I'm sure there are places similar to it, but this is definitely the most heightened version of it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, like I said, I asked this just because genuinely, if you were to ask me today, like, how do you run for political office, I would not know
County clerk.
like anything. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. And like that, it's helpful just to like literally like break it down to like constituent parts. Like I'm not really necessarily like saying like all of our listeners are gonna want to run for
No,
office.
but it's cool to know. Yeah.
But yeah, I just wouldn't know how it works at all.
Yeah, it'll vary. It'll vary like state by state. But the easiest resource is always the county clerk, because they're the ones who, outside of Massachusetts, I think they're the ones who do all the elections.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about your current role.
Sure. Yeah.
You're a county commissioner.
Yes.
What does that look like? Or let's back up. What did it look like? How did we get here?
Yeah, I mean, I ran for a couple things.
Couple?
Finally got a win in the books. I would say being a small town mayor is a grind, and having done it through COVID and Black Lives Matter and like.
Sorry, do you know how many miles of road were paved while you were mayor?
The whole town was paved, so I don't know how many miles that is, but you might know.
I was gonna say it's definitely in a video somewhere that we have.
It's probably in a video. It gets to be a grind, and if I was in a big city, I could be mayor for my whole life. Like, it's the coolest job on earth. Like, you have real staff to help people out. When you're a small town mayor, it's like you and another guy figuring it out, right? And 32 cops, which are not enough, right? So I decided it was kind of either I was moving up or moving out, or but I would do politics again, but later in life. So one of the commissioners decided to not run again, and I put my hat in the ring. The party apparatus chose me as one of the chosen candidates, and there was no primary, and we won. It's a blue county, so the race was relatively easy on the scale of things. Being commissioner is pretty fun, to be honest with you, right? Like, Union County is north of 400,000 people, so you have like a real,
You're
remit.
one of 7?
9.
9.
Yeah.
You're 9 in Union.
Yeah, 9. And then so it's a little bit interesting, and actually it makes me a better commissioner because I was a mayor and my council people could be annoying. Now I know what it's like to be an annoying council person, so I try to be like a respectful commissioner, because there's a commissioner chair, and then there's a county manager who runs the day-to-day. County parks, elections, jail, sheriff. I'm a county commissioner. I should be doing more
Health.
of these.
A lot of
health
pass-through funding goes from the state to.
The things that like a lot of big cities do, like SNAP benefits administered through the counties, like the things that New York City does because they're a city, the county does on behalf of all these small towns. Yeah.
Those 9 county commissioners, are they all elected at large?
They're all elected at large, which is a point of contention in certain counties, right? Because, I mean, if you talk...
Not every county's that way, though.
Not every county's that way, yeah. But ours is that way.
Okay.
Short answer.
And then you said the like commissioner chair, is that like direct election, or like do you of the 9
We select
pick
amongst our
one?
9. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, which is actually, some towns do that too. It's like a village form of government.
Yeah.
But it's cool and makes sense if you have a team that all gets along. It could get really hairy if you don't have a team that gets along.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what's your meeting day? Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday?
Yep.
What's a Thursday look like? Or I know there's sometimes some work leading up to that. Like, what's it look like actually in practice?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of the work on being a county commissioner is done not on meeting day, right? So it's done in committees, right? So like I'm part of the Parks Committee, so we do like ad hoc meetings when, we need to decide if we're investing in a certain facility, right? Or I'm on the youth services committee, right? So a lot of my job is, I would say county commissioner is a lot more like kind of like being part of a board, right? Like,
Mhm.
so if you think about a company, like your advisory, right? Um, the meetings happen once a month on Thursdays. We actually do technically 2 meetings. There's the
Work
judge
session and
and then
then
yeah. Um, but really the most work as a county commissioner is actually just being visible and being there, right? People want county commissioners at events. We fund a lot of those events, so making sure that you're there, kind of raising awareness around those services, right? Like, one of the coolest things we do is like, Fresh Start program, which I don't know if it's unique to Union County, but like for I don't know the technically correct term, homeless, unhoused people, right? Like we roll out a big bus with like clothes and, a place to go shower and stuff like that. And like bring awareness around those programs because we do a ton of this stuff is like 40% of the job, being an advocate and making sure people take advantage of these things.
yeah, yeah. You have a tough job in Union County, given that Elizabeth Airport's right there, the port is there. It's a very diverse county.
It is, yeah, and I mean, like, we lost like $30 million in funding from the feds this year, right? So, like, grappling with that was not fun. I mean, there's ways that we could be more efficient. Every government can be more efficient, but the thing that's stupid among the many things that are stupid about Trump is just like everything's done with a hacksaw, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
no I'm all for I am a Democrat who grew up in a corporate environment.
You have a passion for
I burn with
efficiency.
passion for efficiency. It's not like there's not fat in government. There's always fat in government. But like what Chris Christie did, because he's a moron, is instead of like doing surgery on the arm, he just chopped off the arm, right? Like that's dumb. The dumbest of the dumb politicians do that.
Yeah. Instead of slowly peeling back, 5-10% per year to say, okay, where can we be more efficient?
Yeah, yeah,
We're chopping at it.
yep,
So, a couple more questions for you.
yeah,
2 more, actually.
yeah.
Let's go with this one. So, elected local office.
Yes.
Is it worth it?
Uh, if you
Honest answer. Come on.
it's really fulfilling and it is something that I would not trade. But it is a sacrifice, right? It is a very sincere sacrifice. It's something that puts strain on your relationships and your friendships. And if you work a 40-hour week, add in another 10 to 15 to 20 onto that work week because a lot of these jobs are part-time jobs. So, is it worth it? It depends on if you value your free time. Is really what it boils down to.
Do you like having a life?
I mean, I don't even know what it's like to have a life anymore, so it's hard to figure that out. But yeah, you just need to know what it is going into it, right? And it's a full, even like the Board of Ed, like people think, oh, it's Board of Ed, like we're going to talk about, like Board of Ed is a full contact sport.
The Newark Board of Education, with over $1 billion a year budget, is still an unpaid position.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Their agenda packets are over 200 pages long,
It's crazy.
and that's a volunteer job twice a month.
It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
I have a question mainly about, so I mean, we started the conversation about flipping Roselle Park from red to blue, and then the dynamics of that election versus the election where, you were running for county commissioner in a safe blue county.
Yep.
I know that the dynamics are just inherently different because you're running for 2 different offices and
Yep.
like with the differences there.
Yep.
But, kind of controlling for those differences and that factor, what was it so much easier to run for the blue county and you didn't really have to like do much? Was it harder to run for like the like local, like just the dynamics there? What was different?
They're actually both pretty hard in a way because when you're in a totally blue area, the game is less beating a Republican. The game is beating your other Democratic rivals to make sure you have that position.
In the primary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, or pre-primary where like people are,
Yeah, like
making endorsements.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, I was very lucky and there was a decent amount of consensus around me, but like, dude, nobody loves killing other Democrats like other Democrats, right? And in very blue areas, like that's what happens when there's no competition. So I would say both are difficult in their own way. One, the difficulty is more front loaded, but candidly, like having run against Republicans in competitive races, those are actually way more fun anyway,
Mhm.
because you actually have, it feels more substantive, right? And also like you get more freedom to speak your mind, right? Like,
Mhm.
and this isn't even an indictment on Union County or the state party. When you are part of a party, right? You are part of a group and this group that endorsed you, and you need to be careful about how you act within that group in that safe democratic space. When you're running in a purple space, you get a little bit more leeway to be like, this is how I actually feel, and this is what I think the message is going to resonate. So, you know, that's probably something that you're not going to hear from a lot of not hear from a lot of politicians, but like if you pull back a lot of the bullshit, like it is more fun to run against a Republican and crush them if you can.
And smear them.
Yes, yes.
Everyone says, "Oh, don't go negative." Everyone fucking loves negative.
And it works. We wouldn't use it if it didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask the closing question?
Okay, so the closing question is, if someone in your town came to you tomorrow and said, "I want to do what you did,"
Yeah.
what's the first thing that you would tell them?
I'd say, chill out, kid. You need to run it by me first. As the little party boss in Roselle Park. You know, I would say I would not recommend the route I went. I actually think I'm lucky that I had a good support network, and I'm lucky that I'd managed a lot of people in my private life that I could kind of translate to being mayor. But I actually think starting off, I didn't go to council first. Like I would tell somebody, do your time on council, not because I'm like trying to gatekeep you, but because like there's really important things that you need to learn, and you also need to learn how to manage council if you're mayor. So the way to start, in my opinion, though, there's a level below that is no matter where you're at, what state, what county, what town, there's always like groups that are appointed by the mayor or council that you can get involved with, like the zoning committee, the planning committee, the library board, right? Like start with something like that. Tell me how you feel about it. And then if you want more pain, I will introduce you to more pain. But like that's a really good way to start making your brand if you want to make your brand. But B, also like start learning the basics, because like when you go to a library board meeting, you are governed by Robert's rules, and you have a formal meeting with an agenda, and you like learn the processes of government, and you can it's not for everybody. So if you start that way and dip your toe in it, you can start to sense like, okay, not for me. Or you're like, you get a high off of it, and there's nothing wrong with getting a high off of it. Like it's fun to help stuff. It's like the people who are just using the library board as an example, these guys aren't like, they don't want to be career politicians, but like we renovated the library. We spent $500,000 there, and they got to be in the driver's seat of what that looked like. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see that. So some people feel like the juice is worth the squeeze. Some people don't. But, you know, I think there's two places to start wherever you're at is if you really want to get involved, reach out to your local Democratic Party or Republican Party, whatever.
Just Democrats.
Yeah, fine. Reach out to your local the DSA or Working Families Party and see if that's right for you, because that's not for everybody. If you can self-fund and run on your own, go for it. But there's headaches that are in. But also, like more importantly, like even if I've met Republican mayors who have appointed Democrat people to certain boards because they just need people to do stuff, and like there's nothing wrong with going to ask and being like, hey, Mr. Mayor, send him an email. Like, do you have any openings on the planning board? And like, there's probably is one, and it's a great way to get started.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks so much, County Commissioner Signorello.
Wow, we got really official at the end there. No, this was fun. Yeah.
It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, no, happy to come back and give a little glimpse into Jersey politics.
Yeah, flipping your town from red to blue.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.